you want to start? Oh, hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Facebook Live Friday here at the aquarium. Nothing interesting to see here at all. Tonight's Aquarium After Dark theme is all about sleeping fish. Well, not just fish, right, Taylor?
No.
We're talking about other animals as well. Some of the unique, interesting, seemingly strange, but actually normal for them ways in which they get rest here at the aquarium. Now, in the spirit of all of this, we encourage you visitors that are coming to see us, I would say today, but also especially tonight, to wear your most comfortable jammies. Taylor and I have gotten in the spirit of that, haven't we?
We sure have.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Taylor has a very comfortable ensemble, nice Argyle pajamas. They look very comfortable. How do you feel about them?
I'm very comfy, yeah.
Taylor, what would you say that I'm dressed up as?
I don't know. Do you think our viewers get it? I mean, make sure that they can see the top there. Okay. Now, if you look carefully, Nick is a sea dragon.
You're welcome. So, stay tuned to learn more about some of the amazing and interesting ways that animals get rest here at the aquarium. Especially those of you that are coming tonight, you'll get a chance to learn a little bit more about that. There'll be signage all over the building talking about places where you can learn about some of those animals. And Taylor is going to kick us off by talking a little bit more about this topic altogether. Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of pajamas, did you know that fish wear pajamas?
What?
Yes, they do. Well, kind of. I'm not talking about putting on tiny clothing at night, although that surely would be cute. But there are some fish that have a daytime set of colors and patterns, and then they have a different set of colors and patterns at night.
Whoa.
How amazing is that?
Very.
Very amazing.
Yeah.
So it's not 100% of fish do this, and scientists are not completely sure how and why this happens. But the predominant theory has something to do with chromatophores. And if you've been watching Facebook Live before, you've probably heard us mention chromatophores a few times. But just a quick refresher, chromatophores are skin cells that have lots of pigment in them, and they can expand and contract that pigment in order to create different colors and patterns, typically when we're talking about camouflage. Now, what does this have to do with sleeping fish? Well, scientists think that as a fish relaxes and goes to sleep and their skin and those chromatophores relax, they become a little bit spaced out. And this could be one of two things. This would either mean that the colors, those bright, vibrant colors that you see during the day, get a little duller with that extra space, or the spaced out chromatophores allow underlying colors and patterns to show through. So yes, fish will wear PJs. How about that?
It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it turns out that that is not the only way that animals will sort of have a unique sort of pattern for resting at night, featuring PJs or unique colorations like Taylor was talking about. There are actually some behaviors that they will perform that help them to rest. And again, those visitors attending our Aquarium After Dark hours tonight are going to learn all about some of those unique ways. Some animals will do things like burrow or hide within parts of their habitat. Some other animals might even rest while they're floating, and keep a close eye out for that tonight for sure. And then some animals will do what we might think is sort of the standard way to rest, which is basically just to lie on the bottom of the ocean and sleep that way. My favorite sleeping strategy, which Taylor knows all about and was nice enough to let me talk about during this presentation, is that there is a type of reef fish that builds its own personalized sleeping bag every night, and it's made out of mucus. That's right. What's that?
It sure is.
It sure is. Mucus. Come visit us tonight to learn more about that. You may have even heard us mention it during a previous Facebook Live. It's one of my favorite fish, for sure. So, On top of all that, last week, if you tuned in for Facebook Live, you also heard Taylor and I talking about the different times of day when animals are active and how we classify them. And so it turns out that there might even be a whole bunch of animals that are active during the time that you and I are sleeping at night as well. So there's a lot that goes on in terms of resting strategies for animals. And on top of all this, there are even some animals that sort of feature pajamas in their name, or even wearing pajamas like all the time, or sort of a version of pajamas. Not necessarily as amazing as the pajamas that Taylor and I have on, but still very amazing pajamas in their own right. If you recognize the exhibit that Taylor and I are standing in front of, this is actually our mangrove exhibit. And if you're a fan of Facebook Lives, then you saw Taylor here during an earlier Facebook Live talking with our aquarist, Christina, all about this exhibit and about the care of the mangroves in this habitat, which is really interesting. Turns out there's an animal in this tank that meets what I was just describing there. There's essentially wearing pajamas all the time. So if you come and see us, take a close look in this tank, look for a fish that features polka dots all over the back half of its body and a dark stripe. Taylor's got one located too. They're called pajama cardinal fish. That's right, pajama cardinal fish. Pretty accurate name for that type of fish. They're not the only ones that have pajamas featured in their name. There are lots of other marine animals as well that get that classification. Most of the other animals feature colorations with stripes. And those are examples of those are animals like pajama squid, pajama pygmy gobies, and pajama sharks.
All striped.
All striped, right?
Yeah.
So it seems like the people in charge of naming marine animals really associated stripes with pajamas. And if our lovely videographer was in front of the screen right now, you would see that she is also wearing striped pajamas.
She sure is.
So it's true. It's very true. Yeah. So who knew there were so many things about marine animals that either could be directly related to pajamas or were unique about the ways in which they rest and use strategies to get their rest at nighttime? There's a lot more to learn as well, right, Taylor? And I would challenge any of you visitors coming to see us today, any other day, coming tonight to the aquarium after dark hours, do some research and find your favorite pajama or sleeping marine animal fact and share it with us. We love talking about this stuff all the time.
Speaking of sharing facts back and forth, I think it's probably time for some questions this morning. Marissa, do we have any questions out there from our viewers? I know everyone's still slowly waking up. Trust us, it was a little extra challenging to get revved to go this morning while we are still wearing our jammies. But hopefully we have a question or two out there.
I just wore this on the train when I came. That's normal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. How do we tell if animals get enough rest?
Very
Great
good question.
Nick,
Yeah.
do you want to take that one?
Sure. I'll get us started and you can chime in.
Awesome.
So that's a great question. And animals can't necessarily communicate with us in the same way that a child might communicate with their parent and tell them that they didn't get any sleep last night. They only got 2 hours of sleep or 3 hours of sleep. But some of the behaviors that a human might exhibit that didn't get enough rest are along the lines of what we might observe in an animal that didn't get enough rest. If an animal is exhibiting behavior that shows that it's particularly stressed out, maybe it's not eating regularly, maybe it seems active at times of day when it's not normally active, like if it's an animal that's typically diurnal, which means active during
daytime.
Yeah.
There it is.
And it's sleeping or resting during the day and really active at night. That might tell our aquarists and our animal care team that something is going on with that animal. It might not be getting enough rest, and that might have to do with things like we haven't created a habitat that has an appropriate space for that animal to be able to rest. Or maybe we might have thought that this was an animal that was active at a certain time of day, and it's sort of telling us that it's actually active at a different time of day. And so we have to incorporate things like that in the animal care plans for all of our animals here at the aquarium. But those behaviors, stress behaviors, abnormal behaviors, not feeding regularly, active at different times of day, they're going to tell us that maybe an animal isn't getting appropriate rest.
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Nick. Just like humans act weird without enough stress, so do animals.
Like an animal wearing its pajamas on the train to work, right? That might tell you that something weird's going on.
Someone's not getting enough sleep. Yeah.
Great
Do you
question.
have any other questions out there, Marissa? Well, I will just mention one more thing about fish jammies, because it's something that maybe you might be wondering is, why do they change into pajamas at night? Well, in addition to that relaxing, there might be an additional benefit. This kind of color shift, scientists notice a lot with bright tropical reef fish, like you'd see in our giant ocean tank or our Indo-Pacific tank, or maybe even like some of the fish behind us. And they've also noticed that those nighttime colors and patterns will often match the places where they like to rest at night. So it may be an additional kind of form of camouflage. And the bright coloration that we see during the day is actually the color and patterning that takes a little bit more intentionality. So when the fish is awake and active and moving around, that's the colors they need for that time of day. And then when they relax and go to sleep and they tuck into their nice cozy nook in the reef, that's the coloration that they might need for nighttime. So nature plans everything.
Yeah,
How
that
about
makes sense, right? Yeah. We don't always like to be bothered when we're resting. Animals might feel the same way too, right? So that
There you go.
coloration helps.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I also want to apologize that I've been just staring at Nick's antenna, just bouncing around the entire presentation. It's a little bit distracting. I hope you've enjoyed Nick dressed as a sea dragon as much as I have. And whether your jammies are striped, polka dotted, fuzzy, or footed, we hope that you'll wear them tonight and join us to learn a little bit more about some fish sleeping here at the aquarium. And like Nick mentioned, not just fish, all of our marine animals here at the aquarium and how they like to rest. And tune in next week for another silly Facebook Live.
Potentially silly.
With
yeah.
Nick and I. Thanks for joining us today, friends.